Gregory Hoare from ITV Border.
Thank you, First Minister. On the Dumfries and Galloway cluster, you mentioned there you were seeking final assurances from the Cumberland Infirmary in Carlisle. I wondered if you could tell us what those final assurances are. And on one other cross-border issue, you may have seen there was a protest over the weekend on a stretch of the A1. A small group of people who were telling those travelling from England not to come into Scotland. Your Justice Secretary, Humza Yousaf, has tweeted, "If you are a racist, you are no friend of mine and no part of the movement I belong to." I wondered what your reaction to the protest was and if you agreed with Humza Yousaf's suggestion that it was racist.
I agree with Humza Yousaf's comments about racism. The people who protested at the border did not speak for me. They were not there on my behalf, and they were not there communicating a message that I endorse in any way. In fact, I would emphatically say I don't endorse that. This is not a question about whether people in England are welcome in Scotland. Of course, they are, just as people in Scotland hopefully are welcome in England. It's about public health, and what I have made clear is that just as we see in other parts of the world right now, I will take decisions based on protecting the people of Scotland if there is a risk to public health. And that is not political, it's not constitutional, it's certainly not based on any desire to keep English people out of Scotland. I think even my sternest critics could look at my record in politics and know that that is not who I am and it's not what my party is about. But right now we're facing a virus, a pandemic of a virus, and therefore, just as just reading this morning that in Australia, the border between Victoria and New South Wales, 2 Australian states, has been closed because of a spike in cases in Melbourne. All around the world right now, you will see these very objective public health decisions being taken, and if that requires to be the case in Scotland, just as the UK government have had to take decisions about Leicester, just as we've had to take decisions about Dumfries and Galloway, then we will do that. But it is not in any way, shape or form about not wanting people from England to come to Scotland, and I hope the vast majority of people, regardless of the politics, would accept that. Dan Sanderson from The Telegraph is the last question.
Thank you, First Minister. Just back on the issue of the border protests, you said earlier in response to Gregory that this isn't what my party is about, but if you look at the photos, you can clearly see that there are SNP banners being flown by the protesters. So I'd just like to ask, will there be any sort of investigation by the party into whether these were SNP members? And if that is established, will they be kicked out of the party?
A couple of images like that, while yes, of course they cause concern, doesn't necessarily mean that the vast majority of people are not complying and behaving perfectly responsibly. It is not difficult through a couple of images to make it seem as if everybody is flouting the rules and behaving in an irresponsible way. But of course,